Welcome to DCPC Live Presents Scene Support, the podcast that highlights the unsung heroes of the music scene, recording engineers, show promoters, record labels, graphic artists, photographers, zine writers, sound people, and more. I'm your host, Scott Pash, owner and operator of DCPC Live, a DIY punk label specializing in live albums on vinyl for hardcore punk, ska, and metal bands. I've got 30 years experience playing drums in hardcore bands in DC, New York, and Florida, and I've had the privilege of working with a lot of amazing talent. One person in particular I'm most stoked about is today's guest, Holly, I'm going to butcher her name, Berchielli. Berchielle, founder of Outsider Magazine, a free newspaper-style zine that has been documenting the Hudson Valley's vibrant punk and hardcore scene since 2000. Created while Holly was in high school, this project has evolved into essential chronicles of the region's alternative culture, covering not just music, but also skateboarding, photography, and other elements of the punk community. After a 5-year break, Holly and her team made a triumphant return in 2023 with issue 34, marking the occasion with a memorable show at Poughkeepsie's now-closed venue, The Chance. The event featured Hudson Valley favorites Trouble Bound, alongside RB&X Barnaby and Leave It Behind, who I just recently joined as a drummer. Beyond publishing, Holly continues to nurture the local scene by organizing monthly all-ages shows on Friday nights in New Windsor, making her a cornerstone of the Hudson Valley hardcore punk community. Yay!
Yay! Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Very concise.
I try. It's the teacher in me, right? The years and years of being a middle school teacher. What can I say? Rapidly and quickly, because kids lose attention fast.
Yes, I'm sure that's giving you a lot of public speaking.
Yeah, my kid says that, like, I told her I was a communications major. When I got my associate, she's like, oh, that's the major for people who aren't smart. And I was like, is it?
My God.
Or is it the major for someone who graduated with a 4.0 and is now getting a PhD and a full scholarship and stipend?
I think that's the case.
I'm just saying, right? Oh my goodness. So yeah, I have to, I met you at that Chance show, right?
Yeah, that is where we met.
And I didn't have a knowledge of Poughkeepsie history, of Hudson Valley. I think the only band I knew in the area was Shai Hulud. And even then, I learned about them from the old singer of my band in Florida who grew up in Jersey. And when I told him I was moving to the Poughkeepsie, he was like, oh, you need to check out Shai Hulud. They're not around anymore, but you're going to love them. So I had no knowledge. And so I was so lucky to be in Leave It Behind and play this show and meet you, and then get the understanding of the full history behind you. So I've always been impressed by you. I'm in awe of all you've done over this time. And I kind of like to just start in the very beginning and say, Holly, how the fuck did you go from where you were 24 years ago to where you are now? Let's just give me the smorgasbord, the buffet, lay it out on the table for me. What happened here?
I guess, so I started the zine in high school, and I had just seen zines around, just getting into the music scene. So I just wanted to make one, and I thought it would be fun.
All right.
So it started out, that first issue was really just the nonsense that my friends and I put together. There wasn't even any music in the first issue.
Okay.
And it was all, just printed at home and then stapled together. And then I got a job at a newspaper.
Ah, okay.
Called The Sentinel. It's in New Windsor, right around the corner from where we host our shows now.
Is that your hometown area then?
I'm from Newburgh, so
okay.
Yeah.
Relatively close.
New Windsor is the neighboring town, and they kind of flow into each other, so. But yeah, so I just kind of kept plugging away, and the more I went to shows, the more I decided I was going to interview bands and get involved in that. And then in 2004, I think everything kind of shut down, the clubs we all went to or the halls that we all went to for shows, even the VFW in Newburgh, which isn't there anymore. It's a Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah, they weren't doing a lot. There would be shows, but there wasn't a lot going on. And there was certainly nowhere that like the really young bands just starting out were going to be able to play. So I kind of went everywhere I could. I decided I was going to just start booking shows. I didn't really have any business doing that. I wasn't in a band. I didn't own any equipment. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew a lot of bands. So I just kind of went and found places that I thought would be good for shows, and everybody told me no.
Yep.
And then somebody I knew said, oh, well, I go to this church and it's got an extra building outside, and they always wanted to use it for community stuff. I'll ask them if you can have shows there. So
Sure.
He did. And then I had to go sit at a big meeting, this long table with all of these people, all these church people, and I had to
All
tell them what I
right.
wanted to do. Yep. And then and everybody was real quiet, and then they asked me some questions, and then they want to know if I was going to book Christian bands. I was like, "No, I'm not that's not what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I just
Yeah.
want to do this as community. Like this is what I want to do for the community. It needs to be a place for people to go that's not a bar. There needs to be a place where it doesn't matter how old you are or young you are, that you can go
Yeah.
and watch some bands play." And this woman at the end of the table who hadn't really said anything the whole time just was like, "You're not booking Christian bands here. You're just going to book the bands you want to book, and you're going to have everybody here, and we're going to make it work." And I was just kind of blown away that she was that trusting. And we had shows that was at St. Thomas Parish Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. And in New Windsor. And we had shows there for about a little over a year and a half, I think. And then they got tired of
Okay.
us. So
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that
that's how
happening.
everything got started.
So did you
We
like
didn't.
have to find your own PAs too? Like, I mean, you're
Yeah,
like starting out. Yeah.
yeah, so it was very ridiculous at first. It was. Our first show, I got a friend to bring his PA and run it and do sound and everything. And after that I was on my own. I just got a big speaker, and I just somehow plugged a microphone into that, and then got some mic stands, and eventually it evolved in this whole thing where people would just go, "Oh, I have a lighting rig. I'm going to bring the lighting rig. Oh, I have a bubble machine. I have a fog machine." Fog machine was a bad idea. It was not big enough in there for a fog machine, but the bubble machine was awesome. So it didn't
That's
matter
awesome.
if you were a New York hardcore band, it didn't matter if you were a ska band, it didn't matter if you were
Yeah. The
just
bubble's going.
a noise band. There were bubbles. There are a lot of bubbles.
Fabulous.
But yeah, that's how we got our start. And
Because your shows now are hyper professional. I mean,
yeah,
it's at a VFW hall, but you have you have professional sound people there. I don't know if they volunteer your time or you paid them a modicum, or and you have videographers at almost every show. Like,
yeah.
I feel like your monthly shows are events, and I love how they're all ages, and I love how you bring people from outside the Hudson Valley too. Like, I just love hand over fist what you do there.
Thank you. I try really hard to make sure that it's a good mix up of bands from outside the area, bands from here, and then different genres. Like some shows have a real theme,
Sure.
obviously, sound wise. It just works out that way. Or bands are friends and want to play together. And that's always kind of the best atmosphere when everybody's
Sure.
friends, and like hyped to play. And I feel like that kind of permeates into the crowd too. You kind of feel that when
You
that
feel the
camaraderie is
camaraderie.
going on. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, but the reason that we have everything we have is all the people that work on the shows now have
Yeah.
been involved in some way, sometimes a really big way, this whole time. So, like Greg, who runs Kingston TV and does our sound and does our videography and our lighting, we've known each other since high school. He's been a part of the shows since the beginning. I mean, on and off. We've had times when, we weren't involved in each other's stuff, but our projects or whatever. But yeah, he's been around. Kazooie Louie, Sean, our DJ, he spins vinyl between bands before and after the show as well. And he's been involved the whole time too. He was at our very first show and he's there now. Jen, our bartender, she's
Love
been
Jen.
going to the Outsider show since the beginning. Yeah, she's awesome.
And I think
Yeah.
it's your parents that work the door too.
And my parents were on the door. They're
Your
like
parents work
celebrities
the
in their own
door.
right. People love my parents.
They're so great. And they notice when I missed a couple shows, because I try to come out.
And then they'll
But
see you.
it's like the life of being like married with two kids. Sometimes you just can't get out to everything you want to get out to.
Yeah, of course.
So, but it's like, oh yeah, they're like, oh, you're back. Yes, yes, I am. Thank you for noticing.
They're so cute. They'll notice. Oh, hey, yeah, you've been to every show. Oh, I know you, and people start talking to them, and then
Right, because you're
they get shout out.
creating community.
That was what I set out to do in the first place. So I'm glad it's working. We've had shows in comic book shops. We've had shows in restaurants. We've had just wherever we could. Coffee shops.
Done that. I used to do shows at a coffee shop in Centerville, Virginia. I did shows at this teen center where it was only 18 and under. And so like I had bands that were over 18, but no one was allowed in if they were over 18. But we would pack it full of teenagers, and I'd bring bands down from like Boston on tour to play this like Northern Virginia community center because I tell them, like, there'll be like 200 kids there and they have nothing to do but spend their money, and they're going to buy your merch and it'd be amazing. And they're like, wow. And people would beg me. I was like, oh, I can only do like one show every like 4 months. Like, they don't want me in there that often. Like, they just don't want that. Like your church, they're like, we like this, but we are not your.
Yeah. They're like, this is a good.
We are allowing you to do this here and there.
Yes, that's enough. Okay.
Yes, that's enough. That's it. We're
Yeah.
done. You know, and that's the way all these DIY venues start. Like there was this place in Winchester, Virginia called Big Joe's or something, and they were a bar, but they would do all ages shows and serve no alcohol. But of course, the kids would go outside and skateboard in between bands. And some neighbor complained about like people skateboarding. But one of the kids who went there, her mom worked on the local paper. So they brought out like the town mayor or the town council person and then they interviewed me as the promoter. And they're like, what about all this mashing that happens? And I was like, don't kids get hurt? I'm like, they mosh, but I got to tell you something. If you fall down, 5 people pick you up. So think of it as versus like football where you fall down, 5 people jump on top of you. Like it's all out of fun. No one is really trying to hurt anyone. Of course, back then there wasn't so much thing as crowd killing going on. So I didn't have to worry about that. There was no
I can't
crowd.
stand that kind of stuff.
Kids doing circle pits. Yeah, the crowd killing. I appreciate the art form of it. It just takes a huge space away from everyone else to enjoy things. When it happens, if it happens at your shows, you have such a big space that I can still enjoy the show.
Yeah.
But in a place like Tubby's,
yes.
I mean, I've had it happen there. I was like, I'm as far back as I can, and you still kick the beer out of my hand.
Yeah. That's not the spot for it.
No. And I'm like, just find a way to do it respectfully enough that allows everyone else to still continue to enjoy the show. Maybe I lived in DC too much when Fugazi said no pitting at all. You know, not that I'm anti-pitting. It's just, there's a part of me that just says everything should be open to everyone and everyone should feel comfortable and safe.
Exactly. Especially in an all ages show.
I want my daughters to be able to walk up to the stage and feel like they're not going to get like their face kicked in every time. Sometimes.
Once in a while, there's
once in a while.
allure and danger.
Yes. I mean, of course, I know plenty of teenagers, boys and girls, or gender, whatever preference you prefer, that would get up to the front of shows and like tear stuff up. So, you know, there are definitely kids that tear it up. So, and I called it a paper because, like, I have never seen a free zine like yours outside of something like 20 years ago, like The Onion. And I said, like, in the sense that it's formatted. Like, most zines are, like, folded over paper, penciled. Maybe they look even almost magazine-like when I get them at a record store. But yours has that, like, really old-school newspapery, format to it. So lead me into where, like, evolved from your printed-at-home staple thing to this really beautiful newspaper style that touches this old history teacher's soul.
Cool. That's beautiful. So actually I have them all right here.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Somewhere. I think they're over here. I have this giant binder.
Wow.
It has every single issue in it.
Oh, look at you.
So that's my very first issue.
Wow.
Flip art on the front.
You know what?
So yeah, it was just like, so since I worked at that newspaper, from my second issue, it was in this format.
Okay.
Like it was just like
for people that are
like you think of
audio
a
listening.
magazine, like, you know,
Yep.
I had a little glossy cover.
Everyone stop listening on Spotify and switch to watching on YouTube right now.
So it was just the, like cardstock cover, folded, stapled, and
Which
paper on the
is
inside.
probably the most traditional way that I see them.
Yeah, and then let me see exactly when this happened. It was issue 23. So in 2012, the magazine had been growing pretty steadily. I got some new writers and we started interviewing bigger bands and, printing more copies. And we had a little bit more from the shows and stuff going on. We had a little more, means to print more and then distribute farther. So the zine was growing and I would end up running out of copies and needing a second pressing or whatever per issue. Okay. And then I start ordering more and whatever. And I no longer worked there, but I would go and I would help print it and put it together or whatever, which started to keep, they would give me like, good pricing and stuff, but still it was starting to get kind of ridiculous. And so one day they just said to me, Holly, you're not going to have a magazine format anymore. You're going to be in newsprint because we can't keep up with this, with what we're doing. You always need more copies. And, the machinery that's used for this. If you've never worked in the printing industry, when you deal with the machines that collate and staple and, assemble magazines of that format, you hate them. They're horrible. They're awful. Like the staple is a big spool of wire.
I can only imagine. I'm just
thinking. Hands, you have to get in there. Anybody with big hands, you're done. You gotta get your tiny hands in there. And I had to re-spool the whole thing like 8 times every time we printed whatever. So they finally just had enough of me and were just like, okay, you're going to be in newsprint. You can have 3 times as many copies for the same price. You're just gonna, that's your new world now. And I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And then I got the first issue and it was awful. It looks terrible. That
Oh
issue
no.
looks horrendous. Like, I don't even want to show you.
You don't have to.
So
I will
bad.
not make you show me horrendous. You don't have to.
When you, especially at that time, like software, barely like what you could do between, because it was kind of a hybrid of cut and paste and using the computer for layout and things. And at that point, that technology wasn't like up to the standards we have now.
Yep.
So when I switched to newsprint, I didn't account for like resolution or print quality or things getting darker. So everything looked awful.
And I get that because I was a school editor I was a school editor in high school for my school paper.
Well, you
And I
know,
remember having to measure stuff for picas. Do you do stuff in picas? Right. So
I-
like, yeah. So I have an understanding to a point, and I know what my high school newspaper looked like, right, in 1995.
yeah. So
Computer
by
software.
2012, it wasn't like, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just lost you for a second. Okay. Yeah, no.
Oh,
So
okay.
by 2012, we had much better software, but nothing like we have now, unless you had, you know, a lot of money to spend and time to learn and all of that. So I had to kind of relearn everything and kind of accept that I had to do everything digitally rather than this hybrid thing that I wanted to do. That's where we went to newsprint, and it was the best thing to do.
Format. And
I do now.
You made something that fit who you were, but that speaks to who you are. Like, as I'm listening to our conversation, you didn't have a place to play. I'm going to go find it. I'm going to make it work. Okay, I'm going to do this. But it has to change. Fine, I'm going to change it, but I'm going to make it do my way. And I'm going to teach myself. Like, you are literally embodying that whole idea of the punk rock community, the hardcore community is so important to you that you're going to do it. You don't play in bands as far as I know, right?
I don't. I'm not a musician.
Yeah. So you're like, and that's okay, but that's the whole point of this podcast, right? You are as valuable as any musician in the scene has ever been, if not more so, because you
Thank you.
helped bind that fabric together. You're the person saying, hey, I'm going to create a hub both to gather physically and to provide a physical medium for you to learn about each other. And I'm going to make it free. You make it free.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's amazing. Like, you say you have writers. Are they all volunteer writers too? Or is everyone volunteer?
Everyone.
And so even that, like, I sometimes struggle to find people to volunteer to work the door for me at a show. And I'll even pay them, give them beer and a record. And you're going, hey, I want you to do tireless hours of work on a product.
Yes.
And no one will ever see what you did and know which part you played because it's all behind the scenes. Would you help me? And they go, well, yes, of course we will, Holly. We love
It's
you.
worked out somehow.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. Because I read it and it's well written, it's beautifully laid out, and you do advertising. Like, how much of the advertising helps you cover the costs?
I sell as much as I need to print it, and that's about it.
Okay.
Any surplus goes to distribution.
Okay.
So I mail them out. Like, there are certain help, like, out of the area. I have people in different parts. In Effect Hardcore does a massive amount of distribution for us on Long Island. And we work together really, really well.
Okay, you're doing and I don't mean to sidetrack it away. You're doing a radio show with In Effect Hardcore now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like every Wednesdays?
Yep, on WXAX.
You want to talk about that a little bit since it just popped up and it's here and then and now? Yeah, tell me about it.
We got approached by WXAX. They asked us if we could do a punk and hardcore show because they mostly focused on metal.
Sure.
There's a lot of different kinds of metal. There's every era. They play all kinds of stuff. It's cool. But they wanted to have something that, had some variety outside of that, and that's what I already do. So I guess that makes sense,
Sure. Yeah.
And I've been asked a lot since I started this up again. If I was going to do a podcast. I don't have time to do a podcast. Like, it would make sense, but I don't have time to do it. It's just but the radio show I can do. So I can have an episode where I just play a playlist of songs, or I can have an episode where I interview people, or I can talk. I've done some fun stuff where if there's an upcoming show that I want to promote, I'll say a little something about each band. I'll play songs by those
All
bands.
right.
I'll talk about the show. So that's been a really cool tool for promoting and getting people to know the bands that we're hosting, because I feel like that's something that a lot of promoters miss is, a way to, and that of no fault of their own.
Sure.
Like, you need the vehicle to be able to do that, besides just social media. You need to be able to introduce bands to people and say, like, hey, this is who's coming out. This is why you should come see them.
And it's difficult to do. I feel like I tend to go up and down the Hudson Valley. So as far up as like Troy, where I saw
Yeah.
Spirit Killer, the shirt that I'm wearing right now. And I go as far down as, you guys all in like Middletown and New Windsor. But you have to go to a lot of shows otherwise. Like, that's the only other way to see
Yeah.
things. Your radio show, is it internet radio? Is it like
Yeah.
radio, like old school radio?
It's internet radio. It
Okay.
is live. Like, I'm not live in the studio. I have to pre-record everything.
Okay.
But it's only on while it's on.
Okay,
Like,
it's not archived in any
archived.
way, so
No, you
so you
can't
got
go
to
back.
catch it when you catch it. It's like, which is actually like really great. It makes it
I
a
like that.
hey, let's get those, everyone, like sit in and listen to this.
Yeah.
So what day and time is it, just so everyone can hear?
It's on Wednesdays. It airs at 10 a.m. to noon, and then again 10 p.m. to midnight.
Okay, I like that, twice a day. See, I can listen 10 a.m. to noon because I'm just sitting there doing work anyway. It's perfect time for me to put them.
So it's kind of convenient that it's not the most convenient day and time, but it's nice that it airs in the morning and then at night. You got to set up a tape recorder and record it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, and that's great. So you record it, what, about a week in advance then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Middle of the week,
So-
and then it airs later.
Okay.
Or, the weekend, and then it airs on Wednesdays. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like what I'm doing here, like you're my 7th or 8th I've done this winter break, but I haven't even dropped my first episode yet. My goal is to get like 12 done before I go back to school in 2 weeks, so that when I go back to school, I don't have to worry about recording them for the next 3 months, and I have a little bit of leeway to just relax. And then
Banking your content, that's what you got to do.
banking content.
Yes.
Because that way I can maintain consistency. Because otherwise,
That's
it's like,
the key to
it came out
pretty much
last week and then
anything.
3 weeks. Yep. So
Gotta be consistent.
it's all about
no
the
matter
preparation.
Yes, no matter what you decide to work on, whatever your project's going to be.
Because you're like your zine comes out, what, every 6? Is it every 6 months?
Yeah, it's twice a year. So once in a while, it's 5 months in between. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 7, but it's always here.
And do you have like a creative team that gets together and like decides what to cover? Because you don't just cover the Hudson Valley. You cover outside the Hudson Valley, even outside of New York. So who gets to decide, or does someone say, "Hey, I want to do this and I want to do that"? Like, what's the creative planning process for such a broad-based zine?
I'd say the issue before kind of starts to like lay seeds for the issue after it.
Okay.
So I'll see a band play and want to interview them, or want to feature them. An album will come out or a movie will come out that really grabs me, and I want to follow that, and that usually inspires something. I do have a very core group of people that help me. So I have Damian Masterson. He's a big help with content. He has great ideas that aren't exactly like in the same realm as my tastes. Like, there's a lot of overlap between our tastes, but we kind of live in different hemispheres of the same world. So like,
I get it.
it's good. It's good because otherwise I'm just focusing on the things that, are buzzing around in my head, and I'll miss things that way. So it's nice to have that. And then I have Johnny No Keys. He does quite a bit of like, I don't know how to like
He did that
articulate
one column
without...
on Rancid where he talked about, I forget which album it was that came out of his first time listening to Rancid, and it was just this really great. It reminds me of like the front articles that I'd get in like Razor Kicker Maximum Rock and Roll that are like just columns of people like just discussing their experiences, whatever they happen to be. Like, that's what I felt like he did.
Yeah, he kind of brings the musician's view
Yeah.
into the magazine because he's in Trouble Bound. He's the main songwriter for that band. So when he's experiencing music, he's seeing it in a different way, and his memories and how a song helped him inspire him for his music and stuff. So when he's writing, it's got that viewpoint. I think that's what I was trying to like articulate a few minutes ago, is like, he's got that totally different viewpoint from what I have. So when he writes his editorials, they come from there. And he does the Have You Heard article, which is what you were talking about,
Yes,
where he
yes,
talks about
yes.
different bands that maybe haven't gotten their they're due, or maybe they didn't last that long, but they made a big splash or a big impression, at least to him, and he wants everyone to know about them, or a band that's gotten back together after a while. And I think it's a really cool idea because he was always talking about these bands, or he'd pull out a record I've never heard of and he's like, this is awesome, you got to hear this. And one day I was just saying, you got to write about this. This is the kind of thing that people need to hear about. So
there's bands, so many great bands that nobody's ever heard of, particularly if they never left like their region. I've always had this idea of a band called Sounds of Basements Past. And we only cover it's a cover band, but we only cover songs of bands that like never left their hometowns. So like you get a band full of people from all over. When I was down in Florida, like everybody was from different parts of the country, and we all had our different local bands we grew up with, and we would just cover those local bands. They're great songs that never got heard by anyone else. And like, we're going to be a band that's just going to do this, like, just because there's so much great music.
Yeah.
Like we've all heard the same thing.
For sure. I think about that quite a bit, actually.
I mean, even Trouble Bound, right? Like, I was saying, like, even Trouble Bound, I didn't know who they were until I moved up here. And phenomenal band. Absolutely phenomenal. But I had no idea. But it's they never came down to the DC area that I'm aware of. And
I don't think they ever did, but I could be wrong. Johnny's got a book of every single list of every single show they've ever played, where they played, who they played with. It's so cool to look at.
That's awesome. I tried keeping scrapbooks of things like that. And after like doing like 150 shows in a year, I was like, oh, I don't have time for this anymore. I was like, I'm past it. So, and this thing, like, there was a while where I was on tour all the time too. So bands could even come to DC, but they're like, well, I've been on a 3-week tour. I didn't see you. So.
Oh, well. Next time.
It's hard to know everything. Next time around. I was like, oh,
next time.
I had no idea.
So who else? So creatively, in a visual sense, my best friend Ashley, she's the artist that's been doing our covers since we returned.
Oh, they're beautiful, like collage style covers.
They're paper collages. She cuts and pastes, and then she will use the computer graphics for certain things with layout purposes and things, or for effects, but not too much. Almost everything she does is for the covers and for the little headers that are above articles and things. She makes actual collages by hand with a knife and glue. To see them in real life is so awesome. I have a funny story. So the first cover she did for issue 34, she mailed it to me. This beautiful piece of artwork. I have it right here if you want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the cover.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fabulous. But I can see like the actual artwork versus the printed one looks
right.
That's beautiful.
So I didn't know what I was going to do about getting it scanned, because she made it life size. This won't fit on a regular scanner. And I was just, I was kind of panicking. You can't put it through a feeding scanner either, because it'll just destroy it. I didn't know what to do. So in a last ditch effort, I laid it on the floor and I used my iPhone, and it took the most perfect photo. There
you go.
That you see on the cover of the magazine. And I just was like, all right, Holly, just embrace technology. This is
just embrace it.
Stupid.
I was going to say, there's an app called TurboScan that I use to like scan student work that I'm using in like studies that I do for school. So it takes like 3 pictures like that and scans it as a PDF or a JPEG or whatever I need. But it's like I have to like hover my phone. I'm like, there's shadow on there. Like the lighting has to be right. Like if you're just scanning a document to send to like your doctor or your insurance, whatever, that's fine. But if you're like, I'm going to be making this into something that's valuable.
Yeah, that's why I was so nervous. But for whatever reason, the first picture I took was pristine. It was perfect. It was flawless. And I was just like, okay, I had all that stress for nothing.
Nothing.
And it worked. It was awesome.
But then it all came out.
I drove myself crazy. But so she and I will talk about like a direction we want to go, and then we try to keep that theme kind of integrated into the rest of the issue. She'll make me like little collage pieces that I can scatter through the issue and that tie into the cover. It's a lot of fun. So that's where
really cool. That sounds
idea
great.
comes from. And then I do all the layout.
And was she doing this way back when in your previous issues before like your hiatus or
No, she used to come to shows. We didn't know each other extremely well. We were friendly, we were friends, but she moved out to Pennsylvania, which is where she's based, and we hadn't seen each other for quite some time. she made this awesome collage. I did a big reunion show in 2018. Yeah. And she made this collage just as like a tribute to it because the bands, you know,
Yeah.
reuniting, and it was this like thing. And she made this really cool collage as a gift for me. And it
Aw.
was so like and it was made out of my old magazines and
Wow.
flyers and stuff. Yeah, it was so cool. And of course still have it. And when I was getting back to thinking about coming back to print, I just couldn't get the idea of her artwork out of my head.
Okay.
So I just asked her if she'd want to be part of it, and through working together for the last couple of years, we've just become best friends, and we can rely on each other. She does a lot of the flyers for our shows, so
I was
that's a
gonna
lot
say,
of
who does
collage
the
work
flyers
too.
for your shows?
She does a lot of them, yeah.
Okay.
So that's how that comes
I think
together.
flyers for shows is where I always struggle, because sometimes I'll make my own and they're fine, they're adequate, and sometimes like Ralph from Leave It Behind, he'll make amazing flyers, but he's also, you know, he works full time and he also does art for a living and sells his art. So me asking him to like give me a friends and family discount to make a piece of art for a show, he
Yeah.
does it, but it's also like I have 2 shows that month for whatever reason. It's hard to like go, hey, I need you to like, so I have to like, okay, who else can I get to help me? But I also don't want to pay too much money because like I'm already spending money paying the bands and everything
Printing the
else,
flyers
printing the
and yeah.
flyers. Like it's a labor of love, and I don't mind losing a little bit of money because for me it's like advertising for my label, and it's also building community that I love and respect so much. So, you know, I kind of look at it as, you know, if I went to New York City to go see a show, how much would it cost me to get there, hang out, maybe even spend the night because I drove 3 hours. I'm like, okay, I take that cost. That's when I can afford to put on a kick-ass show in my area that I don't have to drive to,
I
and
like
that's
that
my budget.
reasoning. That's good. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my reason. It's like, okay, you know, I was like, the first month we were here, like, so in the first spring we were here, I took my whole family to Generation Records in Greenwich Village to see my friend Flora's band Maafa play. Free show. Took the train from Poughkeepsie. It sounds great. You know, 4 tickets on a train to Poughkeepsie, it's not an expensive round trip, right? It's a healthy chunk of money. I think like $40 a person. So I
Yeah.
think I'm out something like $160 for this free show, and I just started. And then I get there, and my kids are hungry, and they're like, "Oh, let's eat at the hibachi place." I'm like, "All right." I was like, "Oh, okay." Out another $100. He's like, "Dad, can I get a record?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." Then we leave the show, and they're like, "Dad, can we get some hot dogs or pizza?" And I'm like, "All right." I was like, I think I
When in New
spent
York.
I was like, I think I spent $300 or $400 on this free show. And I'm like, okay, this is not
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd gone by myself, a whole different story.
Yes.
I was like, oh,
But no, I hear you. It's nothing's free,
no,
but
I think it's
everything
free.
that I've ever done, everything I've ever done with Outsider has been with nothing. Like Outsider doesn't exist. That's what I always tell people when they're like, "Well, how do you do this?" I'm like, "It doesn't exist. It's just me and I'm sitting here with my laptop and I'm talking to my friends and we're just everybody just that's that. Like
It,
there's no budget, there's no money, there's no nothing. It's just we come together and we make stuff happen and I pay the bands.
plus you're
That's it. They're the only
manifesting it. It's
ones that
like
get
my
paid.
friends and I manifest this thing every 6 months. We just make it
Essentially.
happen. It's just
I get some crystals
there. Some
and
crystals. I mean, you know, you are the Hudson Valley. There's one thing I've learned up here. A lot of witchy people in this area. So
yeah, we do
it's
some spells and then we
do
have
some
we
spells, make it happen. Um, so do you still print it at the same place you used to work?
they actually went they went out of
Oh,
business right before I came back.
I'm sorry to hear
Um
that.
Thank you. I was a little panicked, but then I realized that a place that when their press went down once they sent the issue to be printed in Wappingers, and I was like,
That's the
where
place.
was this place? And
Yes.
then when I was talking to I actually reached out to the guys that used to print it
Yep.
and they told me the name of the place. They're like, that's where you're gonna go. They're the best. So that's where I've been.
Yep.
So I've only ever
It's
had 2 printers.
I get it. I think I've used at least 5 or 6 different pressing plants. Some I really love, but then they went out of business. Others were good, but they had really struggled on communication. Others it was like a cost
Yeah.
issue. But it's like I like to stay with just one person and build a relationship and like have it go that way. And I don't want to spend time shopping around, even if it's to save $100. Like I like why am I going to test someone else to save $100?
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to this kind of stuff, we don't have a million options.
No.
I don't have, I mean, I I think there's definitely other options, but I don't think there's a better option. I think my printer is my zine looks so good.
It looks so good.
Like as far as the printing
Yeah,
looks
no.
so good.
No.
I mean, I was super nervous the first
But
time, and then now I just trust them.
like I
It's
said,
been 3
super
issues and I
professional
trust them.
looking. It's super professional. Like I said, it reminds me like in 2002, I'm walking around the streets of DC and you could pick up a free copy of The Onion, the satirical paper, high quality, free. And I'm like, oh, you're like that, except not The Onion. That
Most
was
of what
not
we print is
profound at all.
serious. We mean it.
I was like, I wanted to say not funny. It's like, but you are funny. There's lots of humor in there. I was like, that's not true. I was
Yes.
like,
Lots
oh,
of humor, lots of nostalgia.
yeah.
I try to toe that line between like appreciating the past and like being stuck in it, you
Yep.
know? Because I definitely don't want to be stuck. I
It
don't
gets
think there's
hard.
any, yeah, because then you start like harping on the fact that things aren't the way they used to be. And
Hmm.
you're never going to grow or enjoy new things with that mindset. So
And I
appreciating what used to be and trying to keep
mistakes of
the
when I
good
moved to
things alive. What was that?
Absolutely. I would say like letting go of the past. Like when I moved from DC to Florida, I must have told people I was from DC so often that everyone just started calling me Scott from DC. And I've tried since I moved here to not be as like harpy about it. I certainly bring it up and it's in my logo and everything. But I'm like, I have to live where I am. I have to appreciate the scene that I'm in right now. I can't go all back in DC, yada 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 yada. Like that just sounds like, I know what it sounds like. Probably not very good.
I mean, that you get to keep it because it's a big part of why you are who you are. And
Yes,
you're bringing some of that here and that gives what you do flavor. So,
I appreciate that.
yeah, you don't need to, disown that by any means. But yeah, eventually you gotta acclimate and
You gotta acclimate. It's like
yeah.
you've got to do it here. I actually just became. I'm 2 years in Hudson Valley 2 days ago. I moved here January 1st of 2023.
Happy
So I moved.
anniversary.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm like 2 years in, and I'm like, okay, I'm still just getting a handle on the scene. Like, there's still things I don't know sometimes, or like people are like, oh yeah, yada yada yada. I'm like, oh, I was not aware of that. Oh, I don't know anything about that. It's like, especially if it comes down to like scene politics. I'm like, I know nothing about scene politics. I'm damn near 50 years old, and I go out, I have a good time, and if you're nice to me, I'm nice to you back, and then I'm done. I don't know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's okay. You don't need
I
to
was like,
know.
oh, I don't, and I don't want to know. I was like, I don't want to know the tribal boundaries of concerned and want nothing to do with it.
Yes,
So I'm glad to be
agree.
ignorant of that.
Yeah. But yeah, this scene, the area musically has such a long history and it goes in so many directions. Like we don't have everybody hears about Hudson Valley hardcore,
Yes, I've
and
noticed
it
that.
is probably the deepest, strongest, section with the most, it's most populated by bands of that genre. I
Yep.
mean, hardcore is so many things. It's not one sound. Hardcore is punk and hardcore is now metal and
Yes.
it's everything in between. But we've got some really great, amazing punk bands. We've got bands that don't fit into any of this stuff, and they're great. We have surf bands. We have
Yep.
some really amazing surf
You
bands.
do. You do. I agree.
And then we have that death metal scene
Yep.
that is just undeniably great. So, and it all works together. I think
It does.
that's what people are missing, that detail.
And that's the part that like I could be utterly failing. Like I have my first Sunday matinee happening at Snappers in like a week and a half. And I have like hardcore punk band, but I also have like ska band. I pop punk with horns, call it what you want. I have like a almost an alt punk band, but I also got like Lake Lanier, New York hardcore, like brutal as fuck. All just kind of like mixed there for everyone. There are people there that might play Skullfest, and people there that might play Camp Pennsylvania. We're just gonna throw it together and just see what
That's the
happens.
best. That's my favorite thing to do.
That's what I like to do. I don't inherently want to hear an entire set of Ramones core or an entire set of beatdown hardcore with 5 bands. I like both types of music, but I don't inherently want just that for 5 bands straight.
I completely agree. And I don't think it does the bands any justice either to have everybody not sound the same. I mean, sometimes that's the case, but like, if you go to a show and everything is the same, like triple bass pedal hitting you in the face, or the same, like bouncy, bouncy, bouncy pogo stuff, like by the third band, you're just kind of like, I'm not, what's
It's almost
happening?
like, and I get it. Fans, people like you that are into it, musicians like me, and like Johnny, you were saying, I could see 5 heavy hardcore bands in a row, and I could see the distinctions of how they're different from each other. I could say how 8 Metro is different from World Demise,
Okay,
Abuse the
yeah.
Ritual, or, et cetera, et cetera. But to an untrained person coming in the first show is like, oh, this is a lot of heavy stuff. Or I can also hear the difference between, like, I would say Trouble Bound and another, like, but there's not a lot of another band that sounds like Trouble Bound. Like they're just not. Like it's like them. They're the sort of hardcore punk that like I truly love the best. Like I like my hardcore when not all punk was hardcore, but no hardcore was inherently metal. It was
Yes.
that like
Yes.
era
Yes.
where like
The
the
sweet
Circle
spot.
Jerks were a hardcore band. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I agree.
Rancid was a
100%.
hardcore band.
Yes.
Like they're not anymore. They're a punk band or a hardcore punk band, but like RBNX doesn't fit into anything. I don't even know what
Yeah.
RBNX is.
They're
Like
just
I hear
RB.
punk, there's
They do
metal,
their
they
thing.
a little bit of ska reggae for like a couple measures here and there,
Yep.
but I love it. But
Yeah.
that fits more into like I love a good hardcore, like, the Spirit Killer shit, love it. But I just love that like classic punk rock sound.
Me too.
That's
Me
my
too.
thing. It's my jam.
And then, like, there's bands like General Grievance that are coming up now.
Yep.
They've all back to like everybody that's been involved has been involved for a long time for the most part. Like everybody in that band has been involved in Outsider since the beginning practically. And the singer John McGrath, he's been starting to help me with Outsider shows, booking shows.
Excellent.
Yeah, the one tomorrow that we're having at Quinn's Pins with Trouble Bound and General Grievance and Life Abuse
Which
and God's Favorite.
I
That's a
should
mixed
be
bill
there.
show.
It is every one of my intentions to be there. It has been on my calendar. My wife's friend, who she hasn't seen in 3 years, is going to be in the Hudson Valley tomorrow and says she can meet for lunch or dinner. So my daughter's having a friend drop off at night at 8. It is on my calendar.
Yes.
It is I want to be there. I want to get that Trouble Bound record. I'm going to see General Grievance again. I saw them at the Box Fest. They're playing my show
They're so good.
they're playing my
Yes.
show at Snappers. So
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm all
Yeah.
in. I want to go. I want to see. I want to fly her. I want to hang out. Like it is everything in my soul to be there. So if I am not there,
I'll check on you.
check on me because I'll be like so frustrated. It's like the show you had where Pickaxe played. Like I asked you to put them on the bill. I'm putting out their record, and then the snowstorm coming from Massachusetts, where I was driving my kid home from school. I was like 3 hours, and I'm like, I just couldn't. I mean, I couldn't even make it to RBNX, who was playing Snappers in Kingston, like 10 minutes down the road from me. I was like, I'm done. I'm mentally just, it's not there.
Yeah. If you're not going to enjoy yourself, if you're going to have a miserable time, and you're going to have to drive home after that.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I was like, I'm not sure I can make the drive.
Yeah. And that's your own safety too. So
Yep.
I'm glad you
I appreciate that. Speaking of drives, I find it interesting, right? Like I live in just a little bit north of Kingston. I find myself much more likely to drive south to your shows in New Windsor or to Quinn's Pins in Middletown or go to Reason and Ruckus in Poughkeepsie. All of them take me between 45 minutes to a little over an hour to get to. But there's great shows in Albany and Troy, but for some reason driving north, there's just something about it. And I don't know what it is. And I'm doing a show, by the way, at Troy on the 10th in 1 week from today. So I say this as a guy who does shows there. I just struggle to get up. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I even go to school in Albany. So it's not like I don't go there twice a week.
Maybe that's part of it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's I don't want to drive home and then turn around and drive all the way back again.
It could be it.
So it could be I have to come home because I got to pick up my kids from school and make dinner and do such and such. And now I got to turn around and go all the way back. It's like, that's going to kill me.
But what were we? Oh yeah, so like the whole punk band thing. I think that you're gonna start to see more bands like that, like more like the actual like
good
roots of hardcore. That punk rock, heavy punk rock thing.
And then once again, I say this with all respect for the hardcore bands. And like, what do you call it? Top Rank Tattoo was doing amazing hardcore matinees.
Yes.
At Tubby's. I went to
The
almost every
great.
one. They were great. Loved them. Loved them. I think the only one I missed was when Trouble Bound played with School Drugs.
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Like, I know the show, right? Like, I am aware of the show, but I think I was like out of state or something. Like, I wasn't there. Like, I tend to go to at least one show a week, to the point where my daughter's away at school and she calls me and she's like, "What show are you at?"
Yeah, I feel like I'm at least one show a week
So,
as well.
and that was
Every
even
once
like,
in a while,
it,
you know, you get that week where there's no show happening. You're just kind of
yeah,
like, what am I doing with myself right now? I'm home with my feet up.
it was like the
What?
week or so before Christmas, right? And all of a sudden, Christmas happens, and on the 28th, I'm like, oh, RBNX and Louseketeers are playing the Green Growler. There's a hardcore show at Reason and Ruckus. There's a metal show at Keegan Ailes and King. There's a show at Quinn's Pins with Modern Natives. And I'm like, 4 shows that I want to go to in one night, and I haven't gone to a show in 2 weeks. What do I choose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes that happens too.
It does. It does. And I chose the local closest to me show because it was local and closer, and because I had never actually seen any of the bands. So I was like, I'm just going to go see
Then.
a whole new, fresh experience. I was like, I'm going to just go see fresh new things.
I like that too.
Yep.
I would rather go to a show or book a show. I would rather book a show where like 3 of the 5 bands have never played the area before.
Exactly.
And see people just like, oh my God, look, there's this new band, this band I don't know, and be able to just be right there with them, meet them, talk to them afterwards. Like I get kind of like a little satisfaction out of seeing everybody talk to each other afterwards and go up and buy stuff from the merch table. And I'm like, can we
hang out and shoot the shit and get to know each other? I mean, that's one of the things, like, I'm trying to, like, I have a local opener and a local closer at the Snapper shows, and everyone else is like Connecticut or Rome, New York, or New York City. It's like, yeah, New York City is 3 hours away.
Fist bump.
There we go. Boom. Let's do that. Oh, there we go. You can't see it. There we go. I was going to your fist so you couldn't see it. There we go. But yeah, like, I want to have that newness. I want to have bands that haven't played here, that haven't been seen, or, I want to put on the shows I want to go see.
Yeah, I like the reunion shows too, because, a band that hasn't played in a really long time and they all got together, or bands that, people that were in like, popular bands back in the day, and now they've all kind of like gotten back into making a new band and are back in the scene and seeing it fresh for the first time in this decade. That's good too. That's just as valuable, I think, as having the younger bands play, because just because you're older doesn't mean that you can't participate or play music again or enjoy yourself. Like, why?
100%.
There's no age limit on this.
Well, that's where I think I've gotten really lucky. So, like, my February show, there's a band called Nightmares for a Week. One of the members was in Black Lincoln, and apparently they've been around for a while, but haven't played a show in 5 years. So mine's gonna be their first show in 5 years.
That's great.
The Trouble Bounce playing that March show I have with Tiger Piss, and they haven't played a show in 18 years.
Dang.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, you're coming out of the woodworks. Like, this is great.
I booked them at the Warehouse, probably 2012.
Dare you to pee in my Wheaties.
So like 14 years.
Okay, 14
12
years. 12 years.
Well, yours is now 2025. Oh my gosh. We don't, yeah.
2025. So yeah, 13.
But I think they've been
It's
a
still
band
crazy.
that long.
So,
it's a long time
yeah,
to
and
be a
that made me,
band
like,
in any regard.
Maybe that's what she meant. It's hard to get
Yeah, I
everything over
think that's what she
Instagram
meant.
message.
But
But
still,
like, yeah, I'm so
it's the
excited
first
to,
time in
like,
12 in over a decade.
in over a decade. And it's like, oh, that's going to be great. I hope it's going to be great.
It is. And that's their hometown, so.
Yeah.
And that's all you can.
And I love that you do, your stuff is on Friday, mine's on Sundays, and don't interfere, because I would never want to, like, cross purposes with a regular person that does their stuff. Although you and I could work together sometime and do, like, you could do a Friday and then I could do Sunday, and we could find a place for them to play on Saturday and, like, have a outsider DCPC tour through the Hudson Valley.
That'd be cool.
We could do something like that. You want to think about it?
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I chose Fridays partially because they work for me personally, and also because I was noticing before I started booking again that most of the shows were happening on the weekend and very little was happening on Friday nights, at least regularly.
Sure.
So that kind of cemented it. That, and my venue is available most often for me on Friday nights as opposed to Saturdays or whatever. It just, when you have to push too hard against something to make it work, you're going to just keep having problems. You have to find the thing that is, like, right for you.
I 100% agree.
go with that. And I think most of the promoters in the area
Snappers.
are happy to work together.
Like my
Or at
snapper
least
show's 5 minutes from my home. Shows start at 4. It'll be over by like 9:30.
sounds great.
Right? It's like, I was like, don't tell me you can't come out on a Sunday night when the show's over at 9 o'clock. Heck, come out at 4 and see the first band that starts at 5 and hang out till 7 and leave and go home if you need to go to bed at 8 o'clock. Like, at least come out.
Come have fun.
Come
There's
have
this
fun.
thing called fun. Have it.
Yeah. People don't have fun though. Like when I was a teacher, and like I said, I'm close to 50 now, and I would have like band practice until like 1 in the morning and get up at 5:30 and go teach a bunch of middle school kids. I would do shows and get home at 3 in the morning, take an hour nap, and like show up at work. He was like, "Oh, how do you do that? I'm in bed by 9." I was like, "Yeah, I can be in bed by 9 sometimes reading before I go to bed, but I also can rally. I can also do stuff. Like I'm not dead yet. I may be married with 2 kids, but I am not dead."
Yes, that's the spirit, Scott.
That's what I'm saying.
Keep going.
So, what do you see happening in the future? We got 2025. It's here. I know you're going to have another issue in 6 months. You're going to be doing your monthly shows. Do you have any other bigger, grandiose ideas? Or are you just going to see what the world throws your way?
Well, Face, the photographer Face, and I
Yeah, I love Face.
He's the best. He's another that, I mean, I
love him so much.
What he does for the scene as a whole is invaluable. What he helps me with, I couldn't be more grateful. He gives me some really great images to work with. He knows everybody. If I need something, he's right there to help me. And he has been since we met, essentially. He's wonderful, wonderful person.
He has always been so kind, so gracious, so friendly. Even though I mixed him up with Phil from RBNX like the first dozen times I met him. Now they live together.
It's got to be so funny for their neighbors. They look so much alike, but then they don't look alike. It's just so funny. But we joke around with them about that all the time. Yeah, like he and I are gonna work on an actual hardcover photo book from photos from our shows. Because he's the outsider photographer. He is the official outsider photographer.
Okay.
He hasn't shot every single show we've done this past, run, but almost all of them. So we're gonna put together a book. So that's a project for early this year. We wanted to have it done for this, like for the holidays, and it just wasn't. Like I said earlier, if you push it on something too hard and it's not budging, you gotta find a different way. So we had too much going on. But that's a goal, is to get that book out. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. I want to do some sort of, everybody's asking me for a festival. I don't know if I can do an actual festival, because if you tell me a festival, I will want to put on an actual festival and not just a bunch of bands playing all on the same day, but I will want a festival. But we'll see. We'll see what I can pull off.
You and I are like kindred souls. I'm doing a 2-day event in April because it's both my 49th birthday and it's the 4-year anniversary of me releasing records as DCPC Live. And my wife's like, "Oh, you're going to call it a fest?" I'm like, I struggle to call something a festival when it's just 2 days with a lot of bands. Like, it's just like you can't have 8 bands on a bill and call it a festival. It's just a really long show. Like if I'm going to call it a festival, I'm going to be having like vendors and food trucks, and it's going to be a thing where people are going to want to fly into it or drive to it and like have hotels and stay overnight. So it's got to have accommodations. So I can't call it a fest. She's like, "What are you going to call it?" I was like, "I don't know, the really long weekend." She's like, "Stop." And I was like,
"You should call it the DCPC really long weekend."
Really long weekend. Like,
I can see the poster now.
The DCPC, not a fest.
Not a festival. Almost a festival.
Almost
festival light.
I think we're kind of like hanging on Rally in the Valley at the moment because it has that gathering. It's Hudson Valley.
I like that.
I didn't invent the term. I'm sure it's been used 100 times in the past, but like it avoids me providing enough. Because I'm like, I don't think at this venue I could provide what I would want to envision, like you, So
yeah, I mean, did you go to the Heavy HV Fest?
I did not make it. Was that a Reason and Ruckus?
No, he did it at the Grange.
Yes, I thought about doing the Grange. Yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And he had bands playing upstairs while there were vendors and food and everything downstairs and outside. And that was really great. It was all day. doing something like that would be really fun. I'm also thinking about an outdoor venue, maybe. So we'll see. I just started talking to the venue I'm interested in. It hasn't gone anywhere yet, but that might be something we do at like the end of the summer, early
Okay.
fall.
If you need help, if you need a sponsor, if you need vendors, you can speak to me, please. I'll be more than happy to be involved as best I can. So
Thank you. Got it. And same,
absolutely.
if I can help you within, what I've got going on,
Thank
I
you.
would be happy to help you.
I love that collaboration stuff, right?
This is not a competition. This is a
No,
community.
I forget who, there was someone I was at a show and I constantly share shows that I'm not playing, even if people are like, why would you do that? I was like, why would I not? I don't understand. Why would I not? It's like, well, it's the same night as your show. I was like, but if they'd rather go to that show, I'm not going to hide it from them. Good for them. They got the show that people wanted to go to. And I'm sure people will come to mine as well. Like people go to different shows for varieties of reasons, the bands, the location, yada, yada. I was like, I'm not about like hoarding. I'm about creating community. And so if you have a show the same night as mine, yay. Like for instance, there is a show on January 12th, the same night as my Sapper show at Avalon Lounge in Catskills. And I have shared that flyer at least once on as a story. I'm okay with that. Looks like a great hardcore show. Mine was booked first.
I mean, I don't appreciate it if I get booked over.
Yeah.
But if you're booking a very, very different show, then what's the problem?
Yeah, there was you had your show on a Friday, and I think Doors at 7 was doing like their 3-day festival where it started at Reason and Ruckus, and they had a show there. But like, there's just a lot. It's hard to like, and yours are set every month, so I could look at yours and know yours, but I can't always look and know when every other band, like that 4 shows that happened on the 28th, none of those venues and none of those bands like, aha, my show at Quinn's Pins is going to destroy the show at Reason and Ruckus. That wasn't happening.
And they're completely different. Like you're not getting the crowd that's at Reason and Ruckus, with all of those heavy, heavy bands.
Yep.
And most of those people aren't going to go see the pop punk show at Quinn's Pins. Yeah. And vice versa. They're completely different.
My metal show, and then you had whatever the fuck RBNX was with Louseketeers. Like,
and you also have a venue that's this big, and a venue that's this big. So, and they're vastly far apart. One's in Westchester, one's in Dutchess. Yep. There's a whole.
And it all depends on where you live, right? It's like, where do you live? Where do you feel like driving to? What's the venue that you enjoy? So yeah, it's all that and in between. So like, I don't generally get perturbed if there's other things happening because the Hudson Valley is a lot of people.
Yes. And I would much rather have more shows going on than I know what to do with than nothing.
Yeah. I would love it if like there were 4 shows every Saturday that I had to choose from. That would be great.
Yeah. So can't really complain.
All right. Well, but I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
We are big plans, so I just see what happens.
But those are big plans. Those are big plans. Don't understate that, right? You're going to keep doing what you're doing, which is impressive as fuck.
Thank you.
You're going to work with Face, the fabulous Face, who I want to get on this show, but I'm not exactly sure how to like have a photographer on here. Like maybe I'm making a YouTube only like video.
As far as showing them?
Yeah, because I feel like if I have him on, which I really, really want to, that I need to make sure his work is visually available. Like I can put like links to it in, the episode details, but I actually want it to like be presented. So it might be like something I do as like a special YouTube only one because it needs to be watched. You're not going to be allowed to Spotify this one. Like the Spotify one will say, get off of Spotify, go to YouTube and watch this. Like that's all it will say.
With most photographers that I know that shoot a lot of music, you're going to find that the reason that they're able to do what they do in such an abundance is they know the musicians so well. They've gotten to know them. So I think you would end up with a lot of really cool stories just in general if you went that route with who they've shot and then talking about, their relationships with the scene and the musicians themselves, and because they're right up there. They're getting personal, and to get into shows and have access, you have to have a certain level of knowledge of who you're dealing with, and you therefore make these friendships. So I think you'd get more out of that conversation.
Okay. I think you are helping me unrigidify myself. I think I was being fairly rigid. And it's going to make my wife angry because she said something similar and I wasn't in the headspace to listen.
And Face particularly, he knows everybody. He's been involved with the music scene for a
Oh yeah.
very long time. So I bet he'd have some cool stories. I don't know.
I met him at that same Chance show that I met you, right? I mean, that's when I first saw RB and X. So and he hangs around with them a little bit.
Yeah, he's their drummer, right?
Oh my gosh.
That's funny to us because we know them.
Funny to us. Yeah, it's funny to us.
We don't know them.
Sorry,
Go look up
inside
photo-
joke.
Go follow RB and X. Go
Follow Face Photo. Does Face Photo have any photos of himself?
Probably not. RB and X probably not.
Probably does. But you're gonna look at it, it's like, well, am I looking at the drummer? Or am I looking at Face?
They wear different
my God.
glasses.
Yeah, they do wear different glasses, and I haven't seen Face in a little bit because Phil's got a mustache now.
Phil has a mustache. That's the key.
That is the key now. That is the key. He's definitely got that mustache going on, the mustachioed.
This was fun, Scott.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you, everyone at home or in your car or in a basement somewhere, doing whatever you're doing while you're listening to this. I hope it's appropriate. Check out the links in the episode. I'll have all sorts of stuff to like Holly's pages, her Instagram, and her archive. Her website has archives of all the outsiders. Go out and grab some. And most of all, from this episode, take what Holly does and do it yourself. In the sense, I mean, get off your ass, make things happen. If something's not happening, make it happen, because you can't just sit around waiting for all the Hollies of the world to like do it for you. Become a Holly.
Need help. I need helpers.
She needs helpers. I mean, I guess I could volunteer to help her myself, but I'm a little spread thin as my own.
I think you're a little busy.
I'm a little bit on the busy side sometimes, but I would love to be something if I can. So if we can find something,
you're doing something really, really great. Bands that a lot of bands I've never even heard of. So that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I find out about bands from you all the time, and your shows are fun. And what you're doing is very unique. I like the concept of what you're doing a lot. So that's really cool. Be a Scott, guys. Be a Scott. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to hit close on recording before we turn this into a total love fest here.